So, a quick disclaimer before I start this video. I am not English. I am American. I care a lot more about how the US teams do than England teams. That being said, it seems like most of my audience is English, both in analytics and also just when you start up a channel specifically talking about Arsenal in English club, it makes sense that a lot of your audience would be English. So, with that in mind, in the interest of views, I'm going to be talking about England's team at least a little bit as they go through the Euros as well. But I probably won't be able to talk about them with quite the same passion as I would with the U.S. teams, just because it's not my country. But I'll talk about this now. Their women's squad for the Euros was announced recently. There's some notable omissions from it, which is kind of interesting. Mary Earps and Fran Kirby, as well as Millie Bright. In the case of Bright, it seems like she's just fatigued. She put out a statement basically saying that she doesn't feel 100%. And it kind of sounds like she thinks that if she played for England, it would actually be somewhat of a liability to them if she cannot give her full 100% energy, and I can respect that. She's played a lot of games this season, and it really doesn't seem like she's doing it just to get out of international duty. Like, she actually seems to have the interests of the team at her heart, and that is a really tough decision to make, to take a step away from the national team if you don't feel like you're up for it. So I honestly respect quite a lot that Millie Bright was willing to do that. In the case of Earps and Fran Kirby, it's a bit more interesting. Both of them are older now. Earps is 32 and Kirby 31. It seems like Kirby is they both announced they're retiring from international duty, and Curry seems to just kind of be like, I don't know, she thinks she's going to have much of a future in the England team anyways. And maybe that's true for Earps as well, but hers is a bit more controversial because some of the reports around it seem like Wiegman really wanted Earps to be at the tournament. From what it sounds like, it had become clear that Hannah Hampton was going to be the number one goalkeeper now, and Hampton just has been a better goalkeeper this season, so that makes sense why she would be the number one. But Earp still has a lot more experience than Hannah Hampton. In fact, the whole England goalkeeping department right now, two of them have no caps at all, and Hannah Hampton hasn't even gotten to 20. So even if she wasn't starting, Earps would have been a veteran voice in the locker room. If you're already losing Kirby and Bright, that's quite an important thing to have, and probably important for the goalkeeping department especially. So there was the possibility to maybe be a backup, but still an important part of the team, even if she wasn't playing. But it seems like Earps really wanted to play, and if she's not the starting keeper, wasn't as interested in being in the squad. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on with that, and I don't just want to go and say this is, a selfish decision from Earps who just couldn't handle being the starting goalkeeper, but it does seem like part of that was that she didn't want to be the second string. And again, that leaves England's goalkeeping department fairly lacking in experience. But Hampton is a very good keeper, and even in inexperienced Keating is a pretty good goalkeeper herself. So if something happens to Hampton, which is unlikely, I still think England will probably be fine in the goalkeeping department. The rest of the team is fairly standard. I'm really excited for Michelle Agyemang that she got to be on the team. Like, I can't help but feel happy about that. I can't help but feel happy that there's 7 Arsenal players as well. I might not feel entirely impartial to this team despite not being English, because it's hard to root against a team with that many Arsenal players on it. Though this does kind of touch on some broader worries I have for, like, just the WSL in general, because 19 of the 23 teams, or 23 players, are from 4 WSL clubs. There are only 4 players that are not in some way related to Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, or Chelsea. We have 3 NWSL players on the England team, and there is 1 from Bayern Munich and Georgia Stanway. So that says that the power balance is very heavily concentrated on the same 4 teams. I don't think it's a great thing that over 80% of the squad is coming from the same 4 clubs. even if they are very good players. Like, obviously, I'm not saying, like, oh, Weigman should have called up different people so that other clubs would be represented. I just think that's more of a worry for English women's football as a whole if power is that much concentrated in those four clubs. If you've gotten to a point that all of the best players are at the same clubs, that's probably not the best thing. The only WSL team represented outside of those four is Brighton with Agyemang, and that's because she's on loan from Arsenal. So still, that's only like kind of representation. So I'd be a bit worried about that, but it is a pretty good England team, I think. This is a team that has a lot of the same players who won the Euros 3 years ago and made it to a World Cup final a year after that. But judging by their recent game against Spain, I think that Spain probably will be the overwhelming favorites in the tournament. But I don't know if they'll be to the extent that it's out of the question England wins. They maybe won't be like absolute favorites, but this is a very good team. I don't doubt that at all. So England probably still will have pretty high hopes. They're in a group that is very hard with France and the Netherlands, but I have a feeling they're going to get through it still. And after that, who knows what happens. Poor Wales. Poor Wales in Group D with England, Wales, or England, the Netherlands, and France in it. So England really needs to be on their A game to get through that group, but I think they will. And yeah, pretty good squad. Worrying that just so much of it is concentrated on the same four teams, but still a good squad, definitely capable of, if nothing else, going very far in the tournament.